Right, so this is another video about what's the best exercise. This one's what's the best shoulder exercise. So the shoulder, when we talk about the shoulder itself, we're talking about the deltoid. The deltoid has three heads: the anterior head, the lateral head, and the posterior head. So obviously, ideally, you want exercise that can target each one of them heads ideally. Now the dilemma is actually that the anterior head, I would say, don't bother training it. It trains so much with lots of other things. Don't bother with front raises or anything like that. All the pressing stuff, overhead press, shoulder press, dumbbell press, chest press, bench press, press ups, dips, all them exercises work the anterior delt. So you can definitely argue the case for most exercises work the anterior delt, and therefore it needs no extra volume of work to actually get them targeted. Arguably it actually gets overdeveloped, and that can create an imbalance therefore around the shoulder. So obviously most people are going to have an imbalance between the anterior head of the delt and the posterior head of the delt, for example. Certainly the posterior element of the shoulder girdle, like the rotator cuff and various other muscles, usually are quite imbalanced relative to pressing motions, so therefore it's probably not a good idea from an injury, not that great from an aesthetic perspective, because again you don't want to have an imbalanced look. So I would leave off anterior delt work completely, and just that'll take care of itself. So middle head, if we look at some EMG studies, what it shows basically is that lateral raises, which are the staple of most people's lateral head, middle head, deltoid work, is kind of the way to go. However, the EMG shows that it's actually quite good to do some internal rotation of the shoulders. So that's kind of where you have thumbs more downward positioned as you lift up. And this just helps to angle the fibers a little bit more correctly to get more emphasis onto them. Obviously, if you turn them the other way up, you get more anterior delt again, so you don't want to be doing that, of course. Obviously, the only dilemma that you could face with doing more of an internally rotated shoulder position through elevation is you're risking some element of impingement there. But again, I think you've got to work out for yourself, does it feel comfortable? And obviously internally rotate to the degree you feel is fine for you. If you start to feel like it's catching or niggling or whatever, then obviously you can always get a bit more neutral to external rotation position, and that's just the way it goes. So that would be what you would do for that. Obviously you can improve the resistance curve on the exercise. Obviously if you're using dumbbells and you're standing in both sides at the same time, obviously at the bottom there's just no load there, and the load gradually increases until you get up to here. Generally you don't go much higher than that anyway, so you're getting maximal load at the end of the movement, which obviously is not exactly optimized. Cables can be great for this, so you can do one arm cable lateral raises. You can again still get a bit of downward internal rotation, and this time if you've got the angle of the cable coming this direction from that side of you for this arm, then you can easily get resistance that hits at the base of the movement and continues up to the top of the movement, so you get a much better loading through the actual motion you've got, which is therefore makes it a better exercise. So that would be the advice on that one. Now the posterior head, posterior delt. So posterior deltoid, people try all different exercises for this. Basically it's horizontally abducts, right? Horizontally extends the shoulders. So people think like reverse pec deck or reverse flies or something along that nature, but it's also an external rotator of the shoulder joint just because of its positioning. So what you want to do is you want to get some movement outwards this way, but you also want to get some external rotation. I mean, I've pretty much already just shown you an exercise therefore that would work. So if you had your arms here and you pulled to here, that's a face pull. So I would say a face pull is a pretty good exercise. You could, because sometimes people pull a bit to here, you could try and pull a bit further wider, which would get even more horizontal extension and obviously even more external rotation. So and obviously again with it being cable, you're getting really good loading throughout the whole range of the motion. Obviously I'd still say you can squeeze the shoulder blades. Some people say, oh, you should protract the shoulder blades as you do the movement, but it doesn't really make much difference. It attaches to that anyway, so whether it's in a protracted, retracted position, it's still going to be working, and therefore still going to be working that area. Yes, you're going to use some of the muscles as well, but that isn't such a bad thing, because again you're going to be targeting some of the middle trapezius, lower trapezius muscles alongside, which isn't a bad thing either. So yeah, so that's pretty much it for the best shoulder exercises. So give them a try and let me know how you get on, and I'll see you next time. We want to keep making great content for our subscribers, so if anyone would like to support the channel by making a pledge, then we would be extremely grateful, and you can do this on our Patreon page here.